Hey everybody, my name is Ian. I work at the Fort Worth Public Library in the Panther Lab Makerspace, and the second Saturday of every month we do a maker showcase. Obviously right now we can't do those maker showcases at the library, so I wanted to bring them to you virtually, and so today I'm joined by Kim Tran. She also works at the Fort Worth Public Library. She's going to tell us what she does there here in just a minute, but she is a maker. So let's talk to her and find out a little bit about what she does as a maker. Hi Kim.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. I'm excited to be able to share what I do.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for chatting with me and telling everybody about your maker journey and your experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to inspire others.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what is it that you do as a maker?
One of the things that I do, and I go through phases, but right now I'm all about the soaps. I love to make homemade soaps with special smells, and I love learning about the different types. And so, yeah, that's what I'm really into right now.
That's really cool. So you make soaps, and that seems to be probably really important at this moment with everybody washing their hands.
Yeah. And I noticed that a lot of soaps that you buy from the store are technically labeled as detergents. Like if you buy the hand pump, and a lot of times they'll actually take out the oils or not add in the oils. And so then you have to use lotions. But in my journey, I've discovered when I'm using my own soaps that my hands don't get dried out as much.
Wow, that's really cool.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started, because how did you pick up this skill as a maker to make soaps?
Yeah, well, it's not something I've done for too long, just about a year, but it was actually YouTube videos, and there's so many resources now online, and so many of them are free. There's also library books at the Fort Worth Library about soap making, but the way I got into it was for as for like gifts and stuff. I was just like, I'm not really into consuming right now. I want my gifts to be something I can make with. So I asked all my family members, just like, if you're gonna give me a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, like, just make it about soap. So it's been easier for them to purchase things. So instead of going out and buying different like purses or whatever, I'm asking for olive oil or lye.
Okay, all right. Those are some interesting Christmas or birthday gifts.
Yeah. Oh, and a really fun one is silicone molds. I have so many silicone molds, and those can be just like the, for baking or for candy.
Mhm.
So those are really fun to add into your soap designs.
Wow, that's really cool. Now I got
Mhm.
a little ahead of myself. We jumped into how you started in soap making, but what do you do at the Fort Worth Public Library?
Oh, yes, I'm a public education specialist, and I work with kids and families, and I do story times, programs, and it's really fun.
That's really cool. Excellent. So interestingly, did that help you get into this hobby, or are they just completely separate?
Yeah, I suppose. I think it's a really good environment. The library itself, just the ability to say I'm going to the makerspace, and it's not only makerspace could be a physical thing, but it's also a mental kind of like, would you rather consume or would you rather make? And I don't know. I feel like every time I take a shower, it's like a special treat because I have just a rack of all my different smells, and I'm like, today I want this smell, and it changes. It's fun.
That's cool. That's cool. So you've been doing it for about a year, so obviously not too long, but a little. You've been doing it long enough to kind of get the handle of it. What can you tell us about this tools or specialty needs that you need for this making activity?
Yeah, so the threshold to making soap is not that high. There's two types of soap. Like generally, there's two categories of soap. One is melt and pour, and that you can purchase at, they have it now, and they've at some stores they've started adding like smells, and so you can just go ahead and get that ready made. All you need to do is put it in a container. So let me kind of show you. Is it okay if I show you?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to see.
Okay, so this would be kind of, you would get it in a box. It's called melt and pour. So this is just something that I've cut. And you would put it in a cup, and microwave it. And it doesn't take long at all. And then you'd actually just add some coloring. Now you can't use food coloring. You have to use either micas or special soap grade liquid coloring. Because if you use food coloring, your skin's gonna change colors.
I was about to say, I think if you use food coloring, wouldn't that dye your skin?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. So you have to buy special types. But I've heard, I haven't tried it myself because I've gone out and bought coloring, but I've heard that you can just crush up eyeshadow powder.
Oh,
and that's like a easy way just to get into it, because eyeshadow powder is basically micas, and it's of course it's going to be skin safe, you know, body safe, because it's meant for the eyes. But so you would take this, melt it, and you can even pour it in Tupperware containers, add your coloring, whatever smells, and that's just like the real basic. It's really good for kids. But if you look on kind of just look around, there's a lot of resources, and it's a big trend to make it look like food. A lot of soaps that look like food.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures you had of your soaps, and some of them do look like food. Do you have an example?
Yeah, I have one. And so with the melt and pour, what I usually use that for is for like the flowers or like the embellishments, the decorations.
Gotcha.
I have a couple. This is one. I don't know if it looks like a cupcake.
Wait a minute, that's soap?
Yeah, that's totally soap. I used a silicone cupcake mold at the bottom. And then this, there's soap frosting. So you just take the soap, and with time, it's either with time or the different additives, and you can even whip it up like it's icing. But this is soap that I pipe out like it's icing, like a cupcake.
So not only are you having to do soap, you're also kind of in a way doing baking too.
Yeah, it is. I have recipe cards of different types of soap. You know, I have some that are vegan, some recipes that are palm oil free, because there's some people that prefer that. And then I also, a good way to save money is to actually use the old fashioned lard or tallow. You can use animal fats, but often those create the best types of soap because it's it's hard. Like, you know, like some soaps, they'll just kind of dissolve in the shower. But a lot of times I've actually gone to a butcher before and just asked for their leftover trimmings, and they gave it to me for free, and I rendered my own fat.
Wow. That sounds like it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, it can be. If you decide to render your own fat, you're going to be cutting and doing that. But I'm also a big baker, so I already had like a meat grinder. But
oh my gosh. Now, you talked a little bit about that. You know, you've been doing this soap making for about a year, but you had other maker talents. What are some of the other maker talents, and did they help you get into soap making?
Yeah. Okay. So other maker talents, I really like to bake and cook, and so that helps me. I have, for example, like I was talking about the meat grinder. That's something that I already had. But one thing about making is that when you start making, a lot of the tools that you have goes to other activities. I also have, like, I got into silhouette cameo, having the paper cutting. And then from there, actually, and this is probably not normal, but I decided to splurge and get a laser cutter. And so I actually use that. And that's something I want to do in the future, is you can actually laser cut your own soaps. And so this is something I made. It's like a laser cutting board. But yeah, that's what I use to cut my soaps on. So.
Okay. All right. So you use the cutting board to cut your soaps on, and you can actually use the laser to cut your soaps?
For like decorative labels on top.
Oh, gotcha. Very cool. Wow. So it sounds like you have a lot of great maker tools that allow you to not only do the soap making, but really expand beyond that.
Yes. And, you know, it's an investment in yourself, kind of like every time I have to really analyze what I invest in, because it's so easy just to start doing too much and then you get in over your head. But I'm really glad that the library offers so many access to tools. And so a lot of times people can get access to maker items and maker tools.
So you were talking a little bit about getting overwhelmed, and I know a lot of people, whenever they find a brand new maker talent or a brand new maker project or something, they like dive headfirst in and really get into it, and they order all the things that they think they need for it. How do you kind of keep yourself grounded and make sure that you're not just buying stuff just to buy stuff or you think you're going to use it in the future?
Yes, definitely. So what I've tried to do, maybe I've gotten a little over my head with soap because I just loved it so much. But what I try and do is just have a designated amount of space that I allow for that. And so what I've done is I have one container. I can show you my containers back here of my silicone molds. And I think I've already maxed out what I can have, but this is what a silicone mold is.
Okay. Oh my gosh, those dinosaurs are awesome.
Isn't that fun?
It
And
is.
so, I have some, and what I've tried to do is I had categories. Like one category would be like kids soap that would be fun, or soap that would be good for, you know, women, older women. But this is my container, and I have silicone molds in there. But I've limited myself, so once this is full, I'm pretty good on how many molds I have. But a lot of times you don't really need too many molds, because a lot of times you're hand cutting them. So.
Okay, cool. Very interesting. So you talked a little bit about the melt and pour. Do you have an example that you can unmold for us and show us that process?
Yeah, I made some special for today's interview.
Excellent.
I have two pieces, and what I really like is you can put them together.
Oh,
So
okay.
the first one is I have this mold. It's of cars. I think initially it was for like cupcakes or
Yeah.
like cakes, but I'm using it for soap. And so all I did was I microwaved that melt and pour and added smell and color. But this would be real fun for kids. They just push it out once it's completely set. There we go. Have a little car. Isn't that cute? And that makes, you know, taking a bath really fun.
Those are such fun shapes too. I didn't even really think about like all the different shapes. I mean, we have soap and most of the time they just come in bars. So it's really cool that you get to use those unique shapes as well and really customize them.
Yeah, definitely. And the smells too. I have a really good smell that's for kids. It smells exactly like Crunch Berry cereal.
Oh my gosh. I would probably like that one too.
Yeah. And then the piece that we're going to put inside, I don't know if you can see that. That's actually a little Lego piece. And you can just pop it out right here. And then I've done this before where the kids can actually put him in there. I think I chopped off his legs though.
I think it's okay. It's just soap.
Yeah, it's just soap. And then we just put him in. There we go.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It makes bathing really fun for the kids.
Yeah.
But this is melt and pour. So it's microwave. You just melt it and pour it pretty much. But the other process is more complicated. And this is how they would make soap like back in the prairie days. You know, like way back and throughout history, they used lye. And I have some lye here.
Don't lie to me.
Here's some lye. So, and this is what is dangerous. This is caustic. And so there's a whole process of that. When you're making soap, you would have long sleeve shirts on, and I have my tools over here. So, of course, I have lots and lots of goggles and gloves, but I have my goggles here.
Very nice.
Oh, and it's very temperature sensitive. So, you know how I was talking about the soap frosting and how it hardens so you can pipe it out?
Yeah.
Well, it's based off of temperature, and it's kind of relevant because a lot of people are using this to take temperature of people.
Yeah.
But I use this to take temperature of my soaps.
Oh, how interesting. It seems like I didn't even think about all the different chemistry that goes in. So we've covered baking, we're talking about chemistry now. It seems like soap making really has a combination of so many different disciplines.
Oh, yes, definitely. And, you know, back in the old days, they would actually use ash from fires to get their lye, like soda ash. But I'm lucky I can just go out and buy some. They also use lye to clear drains in
Oh,
sinks and tubs and stuff.
wow. So these could
Mhm.
be really dangerous chemicals, it sounds like.
It can be. I would definitely recommend the cold process. That's the process of saponification where you're adding the lye with the fats.
Mm.
That would be for adults or under adult supervision. But the melt and pour, that could be a fun one for littles.
Yeah, that sounds like it's the easiest to me. I think I could get into that one.
Yeah, and that's the one that does a lot of molds because the other one, the cold process, would be using these kinds of molds. I have all sorts of tools, and you'd actually put them in here,
Uh-huh.
and then from there I'd be cutting bars.
Gotcha.
But I can show you an example. Here's some of my soap. So this is a cut bar of soap where I put the icing on top,
Hmm.
and it's a little macaroon. And if you see here, you can actually take a vegetable peeler
Uh-huh.
and then just peel your soap, and then you get like a swirl. So
Oh, okay.
lots of things. It's so fun.
It looks good enough to eat, but I know you shouldn't. I wish people had smell-o-vision on their computers too, because I'm sure that process smells really wonderful, and you have so many. I think I see bottles of scents back behind you as well.
Yes, actually, I have some scents from all over the world.
Wow.
My family, my mom, she went on vacation to Vietnam, and we actually, let me show you. Oh, it's once you start soap making, then there's distilling because you can distill your own smells. I haven't got into that yet, but this one is lemongrass. I have lemongrass. This one's like star anise or cinnamon kind of smells.
Okay.
We also have there's a lot of overlap. So
Mhm.
once you get into soap making, that can also get into candle making. So
Okay.
yes, not all soap fragrances are not all candle scents are soap safe, but
Uh-huh.
there's some soap safe scents that are candle safe too.
Okay. All right. So there's a little bit of crossover. There could be a little crossover between the two of those.
Yes, there's some, and I've made candles before. Soap making is a lot more complicated than candle making, but it's both really important if you ever are stuck in a bind. So I
Yeah.
got light and I got cleanliness.
There you go. So you talked a lot about and showed off some soaps that are, really cute, and they probably have a very flowery smell to them. But what about soaps for guys? Is this something that guys can get into as well?
Yeah, definitely. They make all sorts of smells, and there's a lot of smells that are cologne types. One of my favorite, and I call it Cool Man. It actually has menthol in it, so when you're washing, it kind of is refreshing to your skin. It makes it feel cold.
Okay.
I also have a smell that's called leather,
Oh,
and yeah, it's fun. So this is a little cowboy hat that I
oh
have.
my gosh.
It's really cute. So
I don't know that I would be wearing it on my head like that, but especially in the summer heat here, that would just not work out so well. But
yeah, I might start melting.
yeah. So that hat smells like leather.
Yeah, it's one of the smells.
How interesting. That's
A
really
really
cool.
popular thing now too is coffee scented soaps with actual coffee grain, the grind from the beans in there, and it is exfoliating.
Yeah, that coffee is really wonderful for the skin. So I can imagine having it be an exfoliant. It's really helpful.
Oh yes, and when there's other additives, lots of people use clays and even activated charcoal. For anything that's black, I tend to use activated charcoal because that has a purifying quality to it.
So it sounds like you have really dived in deep into making soaps, and not only making soaps, but also just the maker mentality. Do you see yourself continuing on this journey for a while, or do you think you're going to bounce off into something else?
Yeah. So, with soap making, I would love to be able to have my own farmer's market table someday. I've gotten into kind of batch making and packaging, and that in itself is a lot of there's a lot of skill to designing a label and making it look
Absolutely.
nice.
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential in selling locally.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of see yourself maybe doing a small business on the side.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
That's very cool. Excellent. Kim, it's been really great talking to you. And I guess my last question is, what advice do you have for people who are makers or want to become makers? Maybe not necessarily soaps, but like in general, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Well, my biggest piece of advice for young makers would be to go ahead and get dirty. The process of making, it takes space, it takes um, experimentation. I'm remembering how I was in high school, and one of my biggest influencers for making was my high school art teacher, Miss Jones, and she let us redesign old furniture, and that was really fun. I was able to get my hands on a jigsaw and really get into it. Of course, it takes adult supervision, but being able, especially as a female, saying like, I'm a female and I'm going to plug in these power tools and I'm going to get into it. There is definitely that sense of experimentation. You're going to end up breaking some things, or things aren't going to be perfect, but it's just about trying, experimenting. And sometimes it's like Bob Ross and you get the happy little trees. It's not perfect, but the way it ends up is a lot better than you would have even imagined.
Kim, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your maker journey. And I want to remind everybody, if you want to become a maker and don't know how to get started, you can always check out books through the Libby app or Overdrive from the Fort Worth Public Library. And we're also doing a lot of great maker videos on the library social media, so make sure to check those out as well. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Ian. I hope to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye.
Bye.